What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to talk about Doom: The Dark Ages. It got the review scores. Alex was right yet again. You know, I like to do these little YouTube short prediction videos for scores, and I'm pretty good. I don't want to pat myself on the back too much, and I'm oftentimes wrong, but when it comes to review scores, I think I'm right on the money. So the game right now, and it kind of depends on what you look at. It's not ideal, honestly, if we're being honest. You look at the Metacritic, it's at an 86. Now, 86 based on the PC version, which is 53 critics, okay? The PS5 version, which has 50 critics, has 84. Now, the topic here and what you guys see in the title, I'm not trying to clickbait. I really believe, okay, because you could say, well, Alex, okay, it's got a mid to high 8, right, as the average. How can you call that mixed? How can you say, maybe it's a divisive or it's just kind of like a split, opinion on this game? I got to be honest, that's really what I'm seeing. Although it is you have a game that gets an 85-ish, you are doing really good. You feel good about that if you're the developers. The average Joe clicks on the game, sees that, you see the green, right, and you're looking pretty good. But in those scores, I really am seeing a lot of divide, and maybe you guys are seeing it too. You can let me know in the comments. Interestingly, okay, again, I talk about it's got an 86 on one, 84 on another. When you click them and you look at the scores and who they're coming from, they actually kind of mix and match. Some of them overlap, and some of them do not overlap. This game does have review scores that are like 6.5. I think there was one for 6. I think Dexterdo gave it a 6. I saw a 65 or a 6.5, and I actually saw a good amount of 7s. This game has an okay amount of 7s. It's got 8s, and then it's got a lot of 10s. And I think, again, like, not trying to mislead you, I think it's an interesting conversation. I'm super stoked for this game. I'm ready for it, and I just feel this is going to be a game, and I don't know if I always felt like this, to be honest with you. Like, these reviews kind of like made me think this. This is, I feel like, going to be a game that's very split amongst the player base because, you start to read them, right? You can look at the number all day. It's got the 7s, got the 8s, then it's got the 10s. It's a perfect game. It's the best, of the trilogy. Then you have some people saying it's actually the worst of the trilogy and the changes don't actually make it better. I feel like it's just going to be a very specific game. And if you're going in not necessarily like with the right attitude, I don't really like to push that where it's like, well, you got to be in the right mind space because the game is going to treat you like this. And, if you're not ready for that, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of that. Obviously you need to know what to expect, right? And you need to kind of be willing to let the game like do it their way, right? Like the game's got to play it their way, and you either like it or you don't. And that's kind of the thing, is it not? Like, I'm seeing reviews that are saying, hey, it's still Doom. At its core, this is still a Doom game. They still know how to do a shooter, and it's still and this is like the bad scores, right? This is where people didn't like it. It is still an incredibly competent shooter. One of the better it still has that magic where they just know, how to do that enemy kind of cycling in and out and giving you the weapons and just making it feel so visceral. And the shield stuff is still fun, right? Like, all of that stuff is what you're seeing even in the bad scores. And that's the thing. It's like, okay, fundamentally, this seems to be just still a great game. Then you kind of take a step back and say, okay, but now what kind of game is it, right? It's a lot slower than the last two, and I feel like that's either going to work for you or not, and that's what you're seeing in reviews. You're seeing in reviews people saying it's just too slow, or they buy in and they say, hey, this actually freaking still rocks, and it's a different kind of rock. It does it in a different way. Now, there are some things that I'm seeing that are kind of more unanimous, that are not, I would say, not really based on like subjectivity, right? Because you can be into the slower pace feel, or you could not. I have seen people lean into that the levels are not as good, like literally they're just not as good, or the middle of the game gets very repetitive and gets just very boring. It doesn't keep that high-paced feel that like the last two, I should say, right, Doom games do. I've seen people say the soundtrack is just nowhere near as good, which is not surprising if you kind of know the history and what happened behind the scenes there. Many people have actually boycotted this game just because because of that, by the way. I have seen, and I called this out. I said leading in, I said, I wonder about that dragon stuff when you're riding the dragon and then when you're the mech. And I have seen people say that those things feel like throw-ins, that they're not very good. They break up the action, yeah, to try to, get you to do something else, but they're just not good. And I mean, to be fair, again, like those are all on the weaker sides. I mean, really, and again, like this is why I wanted to make the video like this. There's not too much to say on the other side. The other side is it's an incredible game. That's why I kind of find it so interesting, because you got 7s and 8s that are kind of calling out these smaller things that may or may not be true, and they are subjective. I mean, like some people might like that stuff, some people might not. So you have those. You have the 7s and 8s that kind of have, identified those weaknesses. And then you have the 10s saying, no, like it's just all good, right? They just love it from beginning to end. It's one of the best shooters, not just of the year, but of the decade, and so on, so on. So it's just, I don't know. It's, I feel like it's going to be a pretty split game. That's just my opinion of it right now. I'm super excited to get in because I'm ready to make a decision myself, right? Where it's like, I've been curious, right? Because I just played Doom Eternal. I played it like a month and a half ago. I played Doom 2016 last year. Replayed. And those games are fast. Those games have just such a great pace to them. And a lot of that pace does come from the movement. So I'm very excited and interested to see how this game does it, right? Slowing it down to an unbelievable pace that it sounds like, right? But some people love it, and some people say they nailed it. And then some people said, like doing that actually did kind of change it, maybe for the worst rather than for the better. So that's just kind of what I'm seeing. I'm not trying to like just create a narrative. Like I really want to stress that. I know you see an 86 and you say, Alex, you're overblowing it, but I don't know. And specifically, like I said, you look at like you look at PC, you look at PlayStation, there's some of those that have 7s that the other one doesn't. I feel like if you put together the review scores, like quite literally, right, you add up, say there's like 80 unique scores for Doom the Dark Ages, like I wonder what average you would get, because like the PS5 one I think has a 65, but it doesn't have the 60, and then the PC one has the 60 but not the 65. So put those together, that lowers it, but maybe you have like an extra 10 out of 10 that would raise it, right? So I don't know, just it still feels like a game that though has actually kind of caused a little bit of a rift amongst the community. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure as always you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.